we're going to move on to our next part of the program. I want to introduce Brian Chambers. Come on up, Brian. One of the many things that we have within the city's structure to support and attract businesses is something called the Downtown Development Authority, which is a little bit misleading because it's not just downtown, it's really throughout the city. And Brian is chairman of that group, and their job is to attract and retain and support and develop commerce in the city of Tucker. It's pretty simple, but it's a big job. And so Brian can tell you a little bit about their work. He's going to introduce our next panel and talk about the future of business in Tucker. Thanks, Brian.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. And good morning, everyone. As the mayor said, I'm the chair of the Downtown Development Authority, and Tucker's Downtown Development Authority is a little unique in that we focus on all commercial areas throughout the city limits. A lot of downtown development authorities, or DDAs as they're known, really just focus on the kind of historic downtown core of a city. Tucker has the privilege of, when the DDA was enacted, being able to be involved in all areas of the city. So we can work with businesses and developers on opportunities to attract new development opportunities from an economic and a community development standpoint. So we're very fortunate in that. So it's my privilege here to introduce some of our panel members today. We've got Matthew Lee, who is the Executive Director of the Tucker-Northlake CID, that is the Community Improvement District. Matthew's been a long-time Tucker resident and advocate for the city. I think Matthew went to Tucker High School, if I'm not mistaken, just a few years ago. Recent graduate there. We have Geoffrey Loften, the Equitable Economic Development Program Manager for DeKalb. DeKalb works throughout the county. They work with the state. They work with local municipalities on helping to recruit and attract new businesses, and we're fortunate to have a great partner in DeKalb working with the city of Tucker and the DDA. We've got Mackenzie Minyard, am I pronouncing that right? The plant director for PepsiCo. So we've got another PepsiCo representative here to speak with us today. And then we've got Charles Stallworth, business recruitment director at Georgia Power. So appreciate all of you all for being here. So we're talking about Tucker businesses of the future, and how technology and advancements in processes and manufacturing are changing the way businesses are conducted. What are some of the things that Tucker and DeKalb County can do to attract these businesses? These are the things we kind of want to find out today. So I wanted to start with Mackenzie. You all do manufacturing here in Tucker. Of this group, I think you're one of the representatives here that actually is involved in the manufacturing. What makes you a quote-unquote advanced manufacturer, and what type of technology do you incorporate into your processes and training that makes you an advanced manufacturer?
All right, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm over the facility here down the street, right? And so I would say not just here, but in our other facilities, just advanced manufacturing in general, right? If you think of the end customer, right, y'all want to buy something that is reasonably priced, right? So when we build in our technology, we're trying to build in as the best quality, right? The best, like the cheapest way to make something, and that is a lot with the technology. So if you think through our team members that are on there, they're more monitoring how we make the process and monitoring the equipment and checking to make sure that it is good quality. The taste is the same every time, right? When you guys drink all that stuff, you drink, Mountain Dew, that's our big thing in Georgia, right? If y'all drink it, you want it to taste the same time, right? So our technology is making the product and is making it as efficiently as possible, because we're engineering the error out of it, right? We're taking the human piece is more monitoring the process to make sure it's good quality, while the equipment is making sure that it's made perfect every time, right? And that's kind of the big thing with technology. And then the future stuff, right? So Chantel talked a little bit about it before. But you think there's so much technology out there, right? And again, it's all a matter of engineering any error out of it. So you think robotics, right? And the robots, and you think through, hey, if I'm moving and I'm doing the same motion every time, right? I don't need to do that with a person, right? And then the training that goes along with it. We talked a little bit about before, but the jobs are still there, right? Just the jobs are different, and the technology that the training to upkeep that all the different technology is just different. So
that's great. I know both the middle school here in Tucker and the high school both have STEM programs, and I'm fortunate I have both my children at Tucker Middle School right now. They're going to the STEM program there. My oldest is going into the high school. We'll see Dr. Parker next year, and he's looking forward to doing some of the STEM stuff there. I know there's a Technology Student Association that's very active here in Tucker, so lots of opportunities here for kids that want to get into advanced manufacturing opportunities, and it's good to see that we've got some of the kind of the training and the education to help build that workforce towards these kind of careers. What kind of trends in manufacturing are we seeing, and what do we think the future of the manufacturing industry is? And I'm going to start with Charles here and what you're seeing as a recruitment director at Georgia Power.
Sure, more than happy to. Thanks so much for being here. The question I have, I want to reverse it. I have a question for you guys. Brian mentioned that I worked for Georgia Power Company. How many people here knew or thought that Georgia Power was into business recruitment? How many do? 3, 4? Well, we are business recruiters, and we help companies come in, like PepsiCo, expand. Our territory and our footprint is only the state of Georgia. And we can't grow unless Georgia grows. So we have a vested interest to come in and work with DeKalb. We work with the state's Department of Economic Development. We bring resources to the table to help grow the economy of Georgia. The bottom line is that we can't grow unless Georgia grows. And we've been doing this for over 100 years. We keep a very low profile with the goal of growing Georgia. So again, I just want to throw that out there. But to answer your question as far as advanced manufacturing, years ago, manufacturing was considered dirty, dangerous, and dark. Now it's clean, safe, and it's high tech. And the skill set that's needed right now for those jobs is totally different. You know, I toured a transmission plant down in the Kia plant, and the individuals in there, they were wearing lab coats. They were wearing lab coats, they had footies on. I mean, these are really high tech jobs. And the interesting thing about it is that the skill set that's needed to run these plants, or skill sets that's needed to work in these plants, is totally different than how it was before. The technical colleges play a huge role in educating the potential workers on what's necessary. And the doctor mentioned something about the soft skills that are needed. You know, he mentioned that those are certain skills: showing up on time, being there, and being eager to do the job. Those are so important. But again, advanced manufacturing is totally different than what we grew up thinking it was. It's totally different. It's really high tech, and it's really growing from that standpoint.
Great, thank you, Charles. Matthew, I'm gonna ask you the same question. I think in 2019, when we did Tucker Manufacturing Day, I had the privilege of touring some of the facilities. I believe at least one or more of them were in the Tucker-Northlake CID. I think I toured a plant that does batteries and solar arrays. What are you seeing in terms of trends in advanced manufacturing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for those who don't know, a community improvement district, I represent the commercial property owners in the area. If a place is not clean, safe, attractive, and easy to get in and out of, people don't want to spend their time there. They don't spend their time there, they don't spend their money there, and things go downhill. And that applies to businesses as well. They want to find an area to come in that is a good fit for them and for their employers. So the solar-powered battery manufacturer that Brian mentioned is Sonnen, and they were located in California. And what they do is power sharing, where you would have a battery in your house, and sometimes you're using stuff off the grid, but often you're using solar power and you're generating more solar energy than you need, and so you're selling that back to the grid. They were in California, but their main office is in Germany. So they wanted to locate somewhere where they could have a better time lap, so they wouldn't be on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning with their main office. And so they wanted to come to the Atlanta area because they wanted to be close to the airport. So how do you get to the airport? You want to be on 285. And so they found a great place in Tucker. And so it's things like that about recognizing the location that you're in and what can come here, because people are expanding all over the place. And so it's ensuring that Tucker is a great place to bring people. Manufacturing is also pretty interesting. The tours that we had before, there's a lot of small packaging food manufacturing here. And so for those of you that went to Tucker High School, I did go. As you can tell by my hairline, that was a long time ago. That was way back in the 1900s. But when I was a student at Tucker High School, there was one restaurant on Main Street, and that was Matthew's Cafeteria. And there was a place where you get a milkshake. That's kind of where Village Burger is now. It was a pharmacy, and you could get a milkshake there at Fountain Drugs. But look how much has changed. There's so many people who don't cook as much. They eat out. And so the fabric of the area is changing, and having good restaurants is what helps bring manufacturers here as well, because they want to have good places to go to lunch. So I would say that to your original question now, it's about time and distance. The technology that you talked about, it's shrinking the time and distance to get things done. As a kid, cassettes were the thing. You guys are into MP3s now. And I had a big collection of cassettes, and I had to go to the store to buy them, I had to wait for a record release and all this big stuff, and now you just download it instantly. And so time and distance to get stuff done is shrinking, and that's also happening in manufacturing.
Very, very neat. Matthew touched on it here with the Tucker-Northlake CID, the Community Improvement District. We are also very fortunate in Tucker that we actually have two CIDs. We've got the Tucker-Northlake CID, which Matthew oversees, and we've also got the Tucker Summit CID, which a lot of the industrial properties here in Tucker, and including this building right now, I believe, are within the Tucker Summit CID. So again, very fortunate. We've got a lot of committed owners of commercial properties that like to see the Tucker area improving in a number of ways. It looks a lot nicer than it did before the CIDs came along, and it's just that commitment to investing in the community that I think is going to pay dividends in the future. I want to ask you guys about, how do we, as a community, as a city, ready ourselves to support the growth of this advanced manufacturing? And again, everything is happening so much faster, and the distance is shrinking. What are we doing to attract some of these new manufacturers of the future? Geoffrey, let me ask you that. Decide to count here.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. One of the big things is really our business support infrastructure, and really making sure that that is clearly delineated, clearly communicated with the businesses in this area. And so we've got a great team over at DeKalb. A few of our folks are here today. I'll definitely point out, many of you may know Sunny Anderson. She's our business attraction manager, and she does a wonderful job. Y'all give it up for Sunny. She is. Yeah, she is a superstar in this area, and so, really, having that support infrastructure, being your liaison to the county to make doing business in DeKalb easier, because we want you to do business here, we want you to stay here, we want you to grow here, we want you to hire the workforce here, and so any way that we as an economic development authority can make that easier, that's what we're communicating to people that want to locate here, grow here, and expand here.
Fantastic. Mackenzie, what are you guys doing to support the growth of advanced manufacturing at PepsiCo? I know you guys worked with Decide DeKalb on this recent expansion, the $250 million investment in this plan. What else are you guys doing?
So I would say, Chantel kind of talked about a little bit with the apprenticeship programs, and this is actually the first summer we're going to do an internship, and we actually have a few folks from Tucker High School. I'm not sure if some of y'all are those folks, but very excited about that, right? And I guess just attracting folks for expansion in general and all that, but it's more of, you guys need to know what's here, right? You guys need to know what's here. You guys need to know what kind of things that we need, right? And that's been a big thing with Decide DeKalb is what do you guys need, right? What's the investment from the city, and how do we get folks before, whether they're in high school or in tech school or in four-year colleges, what do you guys need? And I think it's just the partnership that we have there. But the apprenticeship programs, the training, and just really making sure that you guys understand our needs, and that's been a big piece of the expansion is the county is helping us train folks, right? And that was an amazing opportunity, and Pepsi chose to do that in this location because the county and the city was really, really very confident in being able to do that, right? Versus some other states that we were looking at. But that partnership's key. I mean, we can't do it if we don't have the ability to hire the right folks.
That's great. And I apologize. I completely glossed over the fact that I was going to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves and give a little bit about what you guys do for your various companies. I know some of you guys have filled that in. But Matthew, let me ask you kind of the same question. I know the city, still a relatively new city, conducting lots of studies and plans about how do we, address development in the downtown area, what do we want to do for economic development as a citywide, and how do we support some of these things? I know one area that kind of falls within the advanced manufacturing and just the growth and increasing the speed of stuff that gets done. We're conducting a broadband study and potentially a master plan for the city. How do we get high-speed communications throughout the city? What are some of the things that you're seeing that the city and the CID, for that matter, are doing to kind of support some of these advanced manufacturing things in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I spend a lot of my time looking at the hidden infrastructure around. And I'm awful to go on vacations with because I'm taking pictures of sidewalks and garbage cans. And my kids just roll my eyes, but every time my wife says, if you keep taking pictures of sidewalk, you're going to have to get out of the car and walk on that sidewalk. But the infrastructure really makes a big difference. We don't think about that. Yesterday, the mayor and I were in a meeting downtown, and I think it may be in the AJC today or tomorrow, about a transit initiative, about express lane transit. And the interim CEO of MARTA said something really good. He talked about houses being built, and he said 100 years ago, or maybe a little longer than that, you could build a house and it was just a house, just with walls and a roof and a floor. But it might not have indoor plumbing. It might not have indoor water. My grandmother grew up in a house where they didn't have that. But today, you would never think of building a house without plumbing or without electricity. Or at this point, without Wi-Fi. I mean, they build houses now that don't even have phone jacks because things have progressed so far. And so it's making sure that an area is prepared to receive what's coming into the area. Another example, before you students in high school were born, the trucks that you see on the road, they used to be much shorter than they are today, but they're much longer. So the curbs that were built to pull into some of these warehouses, they couldn't have the turning radius for a truck to get in. So you have to go back and retrofit and make those curbs bigger so that a truck can get in the parking lot without going over it and break the curb. So we're in a situation where there's a lot of little things like that go on, and when folks like Pepsi and other people come in and look at an area, they want to say, is this area able to handle the capacity of what we've got going on? So it's express lanes. It's things like fiber. The guys that I mentioned, they needed to get in touch with Germany, and you don't want your fiber connection to go down. Georgia Power is a great resource to us to help us figure out what's going on in the area and build something that can last, not just for today, but 50 years from now.
Charles, I'll throw it to you here. In terms of Georgia Power and the business recruitment, but also the services you provide, what are you all seeing in terms of what the city needs to do to position itself to attract these advanced businesses of the future?
Well, we've always had a saying that the best way to create a job is to expand a job. With existing industries, bringing the resources to the table. And first of all, starting relationships with the existing industries. Get to know them, engage them, understand what their shortcomings are, understand what the issues they are. And decide DeKalb has an existing industry program, and so does Georgia Power. They go out and meet with these companies to engage them and understand what those needs are. From the existing industry standpoint, that works. From the new business standpoint, as Matthew said, understanding what the infrastructure that's there is. A lot of these advanced manufacturing companies, they have unique needs. The solar industries, battery manufacturers, the semiconductor, they require a lot of electricity. Understanding what the capacities are in those regions will help. If it's not there, then figure out how to get it there, how much and how long it'll take. Same thing with other industries that are there. Some require a whole lot of water, some require a whole lot of sewer, and some require a whole lot of natural gas. Understanding the resources that you have in your community, where there's shortcomings, and identifying a plan to overcome those. That's very, very useful. And the communities that are successful, they have a plan for that.
That's great, yeah, and I think we're extremely blessed to have so many great folks within the city and the county and Georgia Power and the state really helping to prop up industry here in Tucker, and we've certainly got a lot to offer for future businesses. Geoffrey, I want to ask you a question here. Tucker is a very diverse community. We've got a great diversity, social classes, socioeconomic status. I think that's part of what makes Tucker unique and a great place to live and work and play. How are some of the underserved communities in and around Tucker and the diversely owned manufacturers and makers a part of the manufacturing in our region?
Absolutely, and I'll use this as an entry point to kind of explain what my role is with DeKalb. It's quite a long title, but I'll go ahead and tell y'all. So it's the Equitable Economic Development Program Manager, which is a new role here with DeKalb. That was really I would say an innovative role for the region, where we are focusing on our underserved, underdeveloped areas and communities here in DeKalb County to help support those businesses, help support those areas and those workforces to really improve the quality of life in those areas. And so I do appreciate the question. So the way I'll describe it is really just with 4 words. It's access, education, information, and representation. So what we're doing, what we're attempting to do is to, first of all, and we actually wrapped this program up yesterday, our Made in DeKalb program. Where we bring educators from different schools all across the county and give them the opportunity to hear from these manufacturing companies so that they can then in turn take that information and begin to implement some of the things that they learn from these different manufacturers in the area, implement some of that into their curriculums, or just begin to talk to students differently about it, because a lot of them come in with the same myths that we've heard, right? That this is like he said, what, dirty, dark, and dangerous. They have those myths, but when you have the opportunity to engage directly with these manufacturers, it can dispel a lot of that. And so then that in turn, of course, gives the folks access, it's education, having the access to that information, bridging the information gap on what exactly is going on in these places. And then of course, and that gives of course those students, at least sparks that interest to be able to get into some of these fields. And so that's really how we're engaging that. That's one of the different ways that we're engaging in that way.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Matthew, I'm going to give you another moment to speak and maybe expand a little bit on how the CIDs can help support and attract new manufacturers. I know the Tucker Summit CID does a lot of that from the manufacturing standpoint, just given the vast number of industrial properties within their CID, but Tucker-Northlake has some as well. What's been your experience and how you can support and attract these new manufacturers in Tucker?
Yeah, thank you. So Sonny was mentioned earlier. So we rely a lot on the economic development at the city level and the county level and the state level, because you'll have folks who will come in and they'll say, we've got a business, we want to expand in your market, and they're essentially looking for a space. And so how do you find a space that's the right space? As was mentioned earlier, does it have enough water capacity? What does it have? And so it's helpful when we get a phone call and they say, hey, do you have a space? And we can say, yeah, we do. We've got 4 of those. Let's talk about it. And then we can come down and it's helpful to kind of highlight the area and show what's good in the area. Because it's just like when somebody buys a house. It may be a great house, but if it's not in a great neighborhood, they may go, oh, I like the house, but I don't know about my neighbors. So you want the whole area to be uplifted. The other thing the CID is able to do is all of you pay, well, most of you pay federal taxes. Probably all of you do at some point. Even some of that sales tax is getting up to the federal government somehow. But one of our jobs is to bring as much of that federal money back here as we can, because it's going somewhere. And so we try to get grants, and that's everything from sidewalks to trails to all kinds of amenities to roads to make the area better. And so it's really showing that the area can support the type of business that they want to do. Perimeter is a CID. How many have been to a Braves game before? Okay, so that's in a CID. It was the Cumberland CID that leveraged the Braves Stadium to get up to Cobb County. For better or for worse, that's where it's at. It's a beautiful place. Midtown has a CID. Buckhead has a CID. Tucker's unique. We're the only city with 2 CIDs. And we're independent of the city government, which allows us to have a little bit of flexibility in what we do, but we have a great partnership, really with all of the government agencies in this room.
Thank you, Matthew. I failed to ask the audience if you guys had any questions for the panel that we wanted to present to them today. We could certainly take those questions. So if it's not too late, if you guys want to write down some questions otherwise. If we have any other questions, let's see, Jackie's got some notes over there, so take good advantage of that right now. Thank you. Okay, this is for Charles here with Georgia Power. How can Tucker stand out and attract more advanced manufacturers? What do we need to do to differentiate ourselves from other cities and areas in the Georgia region?
Gosh, one of the key items that communities that are successful do is they market themselves. The primary or the premier recruiting arm in the state of Georgia is the Georgia Department of Economic Development. They have a huge turnover. If you spend 3 years there, 4 years, you should be tenured. Because seriously, because Sonny came from there. And so the reason being is that they can increase their value twice or 3 times in the private sector. And so once they get 2-3 years of experience, they move out and leave. So there's a huge turnover. And when I mention marketing, have the city of Tucker engage with those individuals or through Decide DeKalb to understand who they are. What do they like to do? Because a lot of times, even right now, a lot of these young folks, they probably don't even know where Tucker is, quite honestly. You know, I'm just throwing it out there. And so they're so new, they've only been here a year or 2, some of them 6 months. And so by better marketing yourself, that'll give a toe up. Or even if you have new product. When I say product, I'm referring to profit. If you have a new industrial park, if you have a new building that's coming on the market, send that over to the guys downtown. Send that over to Georgia Power. Send that over to, you have a wonderful existing industry representative in Georgia Power. Her name is Brooke Perez. I'm actually her today, believe it or not. I'm substituting for her today. I mean, if a new business, a new company comes on the market, a new product comes on the market, inform the individuals that are doing the market. And that's one way that some communities who are successful, that's one way they kind of manage that.
That's great. Geoffrey, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to chime in. I think the partnership, the businesses want to see that the community, that all of the resources work well together. Okay, so that partnership infrastructure, that's a major key. I just wanted to bring that up.
Great, thank you. Mackenzie, I have a question for you. We've got a lot of students here today from the high school, and some of these students may be interested in a career in advanced manufacturing. How can students and other people, non-students, in talent, prepare themselves for future jobs in manufacturing as the technology changes?
Yeah, so first off, you guys are here, right? So that's huge right off the bat. But I would say, obviously you're here for a reason, and I don't know what that is, but you got to think through, like, what do you guys like to do, right? I mean, you're probably here, hey, I wanted to do engineering, right? I remember going to engineering camp at Georgia Tech when I was in high school, like loving life, right? But you guys got to take those opportunities to figure out what you guys like now, right? And then what you guys want to do, and you're here learning about all the things that a company does, right? And you think all the different entities of manufacturing, right? You think Pepsi is, we have lawyers, we have research and developers, we have people that work in our micro labs, we have people that work on the line, we have people, mechanics, right? We have our truck drivers, we have our guys that are and gals in the store that are the ones putting up these huge displays, right? I mean, there's so many different things that fall into that manufacturing realm. So first off, you're learning about that, right? That's the first big thing. And then getting exposure, whether it be, opportunities for virtual internships or opportunities to look at things or tour places, or, if you guys have the opportunity to take tours, or if you are planning on going to the tech school, or you're planning on going to four-year college, whatever that is, if you have the opportunity to learn about a different business, manufacturing or not, right? You need to take that opportunity, because sometimes, I mean, I guess when personally, right, I just never knew what was out there, right? People, and I've been with Pepsi for 16 years, and I grew up in a manufacturing family, right? My dad actually worked for Pepsi in the Frito-Lay side for 37 years, so it's in the blood in my family, right? But you don't know what's out there until you get the opportunity, and you don't know what it looks like, and it's not dirty, it's not, right? There are jobs that are dirty, right? I started in maintenance, and that was probably one of my favorite jobs ever. But you just don't know what that is until you're there. And I think then taking advantage of your teachers and asking them questions, and taking advantage of the tech schools, and them providing you resources, and a lot in the state of the Georgia that's free, right? You don't have to come out of school with debt. You don't have to come out of school with those things. So just taking advantage of learning about it, and then really figuring out what you guys like and getting those skills to do that.
That's great. I know you're one of the few representatives here that's actually a business in Tucker that would be reaching out and hiring folks, but maybe the rest of you all here on the panel may be able to speak to this. Are there plans, or are there things that are happening now currently where we're reaching out to students and the youth here, maybe through the high school? I don't know if there's job fairs or informational programs, if anyone could speak to what may be happening now, or what may be happening in the future in that regard.
Yeah, so I'll be happy to speak. Well,
No, please go.
all right, so yeah, well, as I mentioned, our Made in DeKalb program, this was our first cohort. We just wrapped that up yesterday. Then that's something we'll be revamping for the school year starting 2023. But again, that's a way for us to connect with the schools, connect with the teachers, and in that way you can connect through the students, and the teachers are so excited, when they come through that program, because again, they're learning more about the industries, and they're able to. It's almost like they're able to provide these options to these students, and it's a way to. It's really helpful, and so that is one thing I know from the DeKalb side of things. That's something that we're planning on continuing to do in the future, having that cohort of different teachers every year.
That's great. That's really, really great. Well, I'm encouraged and excited to see a number of the students here today. I think this was a great addition to Tucker Manufacturing Day to bring in not just people that are already in the business community and the cities and economic development, but the future of what these companies are going to look like, the future leaders of America and Tucker. So I think this is great. Would love to expand this year after year. Maybe we'll get to do some tours of manufacturing facilities again in the near future. But anyway, so I want to thank everyone on the panel today for your time. Very informative. So if everyone would give a hand for